Hi guys, I thought you missed me, so I thought I'd make another video to teach you guys how to add and subtract linear equations. I know the last 2 days you've had to do what was on the in the book and watch the videos in the book. Hopefully those videos helped you get through the lesson and to complete the got it problems. I'm going to go over the got it problems today, so make sure you have those in front of you and to see whether you did them correctly or where you made your mistakes. So when we're adding linear equations, the first thing to do is always find like terms. And when I find like terms, as I've done before in the past, I'm going to, and what like terms are is if it has a variable and it has the same variable, they are like terms. If they don't have variables and they're just numbers, those are like terms. So I'm going to circle the ones with the x's, and then I'm going to put a box around the other ones that do not have a variable attached with it. When you get into more complex problems, you're going to find that you're going to have more than one variable. So it's good to make sure that you know. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to combine my like terms. And this is a positive 3 and this is a positive 2. And with that plus in front of the parentheses, I know that that plus is going to continue saying that that is a positive 2. So 3x plus 2x is 5x. Then I have a positive 5 and a positive 3, because again, this positive sign and that positive sign makes it positive. So 5 plus 3 is 8. And we said they're positive, so we just put a plus sign. So we're done with our first example. Your answer should be 5x plus 8. Our second example on B. Remember, we're on page 396, chapter 5, lesson 6. Combine like terms. I'm going to circle my 2x and my 3x. I'm going to put a box around. Now notice, this is a subtract 4. I am going to put that subtraction sign, because it's like a negative, with that box. Again with the negative 7 or minus 7. So you're choosing it like a negative sign. So we have a positive 2x and a positive 3x. So 2 plus 3 makes 5. So we just have 5x. Now with these, if I had this positive here, this positive and the negative is just still going to make that a negative. Okay? Because a negative times a positive is a negative. Because when that sign is in front of parentheses, it's like you're multiplying it through without. So if I have a negative 4 and a negative 7, if I combine those, if I add those, a negative 4 and a negative 7, 7 and 4 makes 11. So then, now, what sign do I put here? You bring down the negative sign. So your answer would be 5x minus 11. Still on chapter 5, lesson 6. Our next problem was got it problem C. Make sure you find C. If you didn't do it yesterday, go ahead and do it real quick. Pause the video and then do it and then see where we're at. Combine your like terms. It's always good. Circle, box, do something so I know these are going to go together and these are going to go together. So I have the negative 1 and a positive 3. Okay? So I have an x. If I don't have a number in front of the x, it's just like saying that that's 1x. So 1x plus 2x makes, those together make 3x. Now here, what's different with this one is we have one that's negative and one that's positive. When adding integers, we always know the rule is if I have a negative and a positive, I go ahead and subtract. So 3 minus 1 is 2. And then you take the sign of the bigger number. So the sign is going to be that positive. So it's going to be plus 2. Because 1 and 3, we have a negative and a positive. We're going to subtract. So 3 minus 1 is 2. And take the positive sign, because that's a greater number. D, again, if you didn't do it, please, every time I get to a problem, if you didn't do it yesterday, pause it, try it. So we have x minus 4 plus the quantity of negative 2x plus 1. I'm going to circle my like terms. So I have a positive x, so that's like saying a 1x, and a negative 2. If I have a positive and negative, adding integers, you subtract. So 2 minus 1 is 1. So I have 1x, and I take the sign of the negative. Okay? Then I have a -4 and a +1. 1 is negative, 1 is positive, so we subtract. 4 minus 1 is 3. Take the sign of the bigger number. So it's a -3. Now, one way to write this better is we want to get rid of that 1. So you just have to take it out. So your answer really should say -x minus 3. And that's your correct answer. Going on to E. Where these are a little bit different is because you have to start with 6 times the quantity x plus 7 plus x plus 3. This is what is that called when we have to do this. You guys remember what that's called? The distributive property. So that is like saying 6 times everything inside there. So 6 times x is 6x plus 6 times 7 is 42. Okay, so that I can have in my parentheses, or I can leave it without, plus x plus 3. So now I'm going to circle and combine my like terms. So I have 6x and an x. Combining the 6x and x, that's like 1x. So 6 plus 1 is 7x. I have 42 and a positive 3. So 42 plus 3, because they're both positive, makes it 45. So it's a positive 45. And we leave our answer like that. Same with F, except for in front, we don't have the distributive property here, but we do in the second part of the problem. So we're going to just write this first. 12x plus 19 plus. Now we have to do 2 times x is 2x. 2 times a negative 10 is a negative 20. So now we go and look at combining like terms. 12x and 2x. 12 plus 2 makes 14x. Positive 19 and a negative 20. One's positive, one's negative, so you subtract. 20 minus 19 is 1. Take the sign of the bigger number, which is this one right here. So it's a minus 1. So your answer is 14x minus 1. Okay, so that was what you guys had to work on Tuesday. Now I'm going to go over what you had to do on Wednesday, and that was subtracting the integers. Okay, or subtracting the linear expressions. So the key with this one is this subtraction sign. When you see the subtraction sign, this is where it's different. It's like saying a negative times what's in that quantity. So this now becomes a -2, because a negative times a positive becomes a negative. Then you take the negative times this negative, which now the -7 becomes a positive, because a negative times a negative is a positive. So now I can go ahead and circle my like terms. So I've got a positive 5x and a negative 2x. One's positive, one's negative, so you're going to subtract. 5 minus 2 is 3. Now, you take the sign of the bigger number, which is the 5, so it's going to stay a positive 3x. Then I go to my next terms that are alike. And notice I have a -9, and now that became a positive 7. So a negative and a positive, you subtract. 9 minus 7 is 2. Take the sign of the bigger number. The bigger number is 9, so it's a -2. Part B, we're doing the same thing. We're going to first distribute that negative. Because that subtraction is like saying I'm going to take that negative and distribute it within that parentheses. So this now, a positive 2 now became a negative 2. This negative times negative now became a positive. And then we just don't have to worry about that negative anymore, and we're just going to add. We're going to combine them. So I've got a 6x and a negative 2x. So a positive and a negative, we're going to subtract, take the sign of the bigger number, so it is now 4x. And it's always helpful putting boxes and circles around it and including the sign. So I have a negative and a positive, so I subtract, and 10 minus 8 is 2, and take the bigger sign, so I have a negative 2. It's critical to make sure that you're, sorry, phone's ringing, to keep that you have the negative and the positive. We're just going to keep going, and I'm not editing this video for it either. Give me just a second. So we're going to do this again. We have the negative, and we're going to distribute that. So that's a negative 5x, negative times a negative becomes a positive. Circle what we have in common. 3x and a negative 5x. So we have a negative and a positive, so we're going to subtract. So 5 minus 3 is 2. Keep the sign of the bigger number. So now it's a negative 2x. A negative 2 and a positive 4. 4 minus 2 is 2. So we're going to take the sign of the bigger number. So now we have it's plus 2. So you can always start with a negative number. It's just very important that you circle, box with the sign. Distribute the subtraction first. So distribute that. So a negative times a negative, this now became positive. A negative times a positive, this now becomes a negative 2. So I have a positive 4x and a positive 2x. So two positives, you just add, so that becomes 6x. I have a negative 4 and a negative 2. Both of them are negative, so we just add. So negative 4 and a negative 2 makes a negative 6. Hopefully we can continue without the phone ringing. See, distractions. We're all used to distractions and what we have. 2 more examples from the book, and then I'm going to give an example of what you guys are going to be doing later on. So again, if it's subtracting, distribute. That becomes a negative. A negative times a positive, this now becomes a negative. I'm going to circle my like terms. I have a 4x and a negative 2x. A negative and a positive, we subtract, so 4 minus 2 is 2. Keep the sign of the bigger number, so now we just have 2x. Then we have a negative 3 and a negative 7. Negative 3 and negative 7 makes it a negative 10. In the last example for the got it problems, if you didn't do it, please stop. Try it. Try it before I go over and give you the answer. So I'm going to distribute the negative first. So because that was positive, it just becomes negative. Negative times a positive now becomes a negative. So I have 5x and a negative 2x. 5 and a negative makes 3. Keep the sign of the bigger number, so I have 3x. Then I have a negative 4 and a negative 3. Well, 4 plus 3 is 7, so it's just going to stay a negative 7. Now, after you watch this video, you need to spend 15 minutes doing IXL R14. It's going to look like this. It's going to come up like this, where today's practice, we had all these parentheses. Well, if you look at this example, it doesn't have parentheses. You do the same thing. I'm going to circle my like terms with a T. There's nothing else in this problem, so that's the only thing that I'm circling. So that really, I can write down here for T, because I can't combine it with anything else. Then I'm going to circle my other like terms, or put a box around it. This is a 4, and that's a -3. So one's positive, one's negative, so you subtract. 4 minus 3 is 1. Take the sign of the bigger number, so it's +1. You see how I did combine my like terms, even though they didn't have parentheses. Good luck today. Thanks for watching the video. Sorry about the interruption, but you know that's life and that's what we're going to have to deal with. So I'm glad you got to see me today. I miss seeing you guys in your faces. Get on our Google Meet one time and then we can pick up and chat. So IXL R14 for 15 to 20 minutes. Thanks. Have a good day.